Welcome back, everybody, to Rogue Bob Gaming. I'm Eric.
And I'm Matt.
And today we have a top 5 video for you. So we wanted to talk a little bit about collecting. I know for Matt and I's perspective, I'm a little bit more into the collecting and filling up my binder. Matt's a little bit more into like the TCG.
I like to battle.
He likes to battle. He likes to play games. So today we're going to focus in on that collecting piece. If you haven't seen any videos of ours yet, be sure to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff.
All the fun things.
We talk about how we're just really popular with the grandmothers. And so go tell your grandmother. We'll get another subscriber if grandma's on YouTube.
Awesome.
But let's keep that intro short. Matt, why don't you go ahead and hit them with that number or that first tip for collecting.
So the first thing you're going to want to do is invest in a good binder, some sleeves, some of those, hard cases. What are the other, like the big sleeves too, like the sheets.
Yeah.
Those are good things to invest in
sheets.
when you're a collector because you want to protect the cards. So things like hard cases and sleeves really protect the cards. A binder to keep them in. Maybe you even have separate binders. If you play multiple TCG or collect multiple TCG, you have separate binders for those. Or maybe even if you just have certain ways you want to divide them about maybe certain things you trade and certain things you're like, I'm never parting with this. I want to keep them in this binder where I just keep them forever. But those are good ways to protect your cards and also display them well. So you just want to be able to show them off, but also it keeps the cards intact. So if you ever go to get them graded, they are in pristine condition just the way you first got them.
Yeah, so I have a big binder that I collect anything of value, or sentimental or monetary.
Yeah.
And there are some cards in my binder that I have binder sleeves, but I also have the cards in their own individial sleeves that go then into the binder sleeve, and so they're kind of like double sleeved, and that just helps protect them. And then the binder, preferably you're going to get like a hard shell binder. I know they make the ones that are kind of bendable. Ideally, you're going to want to go to Walmart, Target, whatever, and get that hard case binder. To prevent from spills or help with spills, and just as you're moving, putting it in a box and moving places and stuff. A lot of times when you're collecting, you're going to have these cards for a number of years, maybe. And so that's going to be an ideal way to kind of help. Our next tip is kind of understanding how cards are valued. And there's a few different ways you can look at this. Sometimes the value of a card comes down to its competitive viability. So if it's, if you pull a card and it is, obviously it's going to be in the standard format because you just pulled it. If that card is really competitive, viable, and it's really good in the actual TCG for gaming, that's going to increase the value of the card. And then obviously, probably the main way to value a card is its rarity. So Pokemon will only print so many copies of every card in each expansion, and as you go up in rarity from regular rare to all the way up to secret rare, all that stuff, they're going to print less and less and less. That's what makes them more rare. They're harder to pull. And so for a card that you pull that might not be the most rare, but it's really competitively viable, you might want to sell that card right at the get-go, because the highest value that card is ever going to see is when it's in its standard format while people are using it. If you hold on to it for 5 years and that card is now not even in rotation for the actual game, the card game itself, then you'll lose the value of that card.
Whereas you have something like maybe first edition Charizard. That's only going to get more and more valuable over time because it's nostalgia, it's more of a legacy card as opposed to competitively viable.
Yep. So something like a Butterfree VMAX, just for example, might not be the most competitively viable, but if you pull like a secret rare Butterfree VMAX, that might be something you sleeve up, put in your binder.
It'll have some worth to it.
Yeah, it might be worth $10 or $11 or $12 now, but in 20 years, if we go through another phase like we're in now with this whole nostalgia with Pokemon, it might double in value, and that's kind of what collectors are really wanting to do. The other thing we wanted to mention is in the description, there's going to be a link to an article that does a really good job describing in super crazy amount of detail how Pokemon cards are kind of valued, understanding the different rarities and percentages that cards are printed at. And so it's really helpful when kind of making this. So check that out if you are wanting to get into collecting. Make sure you check that out in the description below. We'll have a link to that article.
Another benefit is to get your cards graded. There are a couple different grading systems. The top ones are PSA, Beckett. There might be a couple more.
There's definitely a few more. But
it actually increases the value of your card. So if you feel like you have a good card, it's in very good condition, getting it graded, and so it's on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, getting it graded can automatically up the value because it is shown to be in a good condition. It's not just your word. There has been a company who has graded it and said this is good. I have a graded card myself. It's a grade 10. So 10 gem mint just makes it that much more expensive and valuable as a collector.
You pull a card and you go on TCG Player to see how much it's worth. That is the ungraded price.
Ungraded price, yeah.
And so that is kind of just like a ballpark of what the card is worth, which is really gives you a good idea idea, a really good idea of how much the card is worth. But if you really want to know and you're into collecting, you can get it graded. That way you know, okay, this is a PSA 8 or 9, and it is worth this much, and you can sell it for that much. And it's just much more like firm.
Absolutely. So one thing to do with your commons, so a lot of times as a collector, commons are kind of just there. You can build a set with them. Sometimes people like to build out their set. I tried to do that at one point of like, let's see if I can get every card in the set. And commons come in abundance. You're going to have maybe 10 to 20 copies of them depending on how many packs you decide to open. But a good way to do it, I did this with Full Grip Games. Tricky Jim talks about them all the time. I did this Full Grip Games. I took all of my bulk, sold it to them, and got a booster box in return. So a lot of game stores are looking for bulk and things of that nature. You can also sell singles. Obviously, they'll be a little bit more expensive, and you know, that might be your higher rarity cards. But if you're not really fond of them, selling them back, you can get, you know, store credit or some cash for them in order to get other cards. You can also donate them. That's also a great and charitable thing to do. Whether you have, you know, a little cousin, nephew,
a daycare down the road,
Facebook Marketplace, you know, it's always good to share, you know, and maybe somebody wants to build a deck that requires those commons, and you can go ahead and pass it off to them.
All right, our next tip is understanding what products you should buy. There are a lot of products that contain cards in them, but kind of knowing where you get the most bang for your buck as a collector is going to be really important. For example, Elite Trainer boxes are a fairly popular thing to buy. But there's a lot of things in Elite Trainer boxes that you're paying for that aren't cards. They come with coins. They come with the tag team, or they come with the VMAX little tokens.
Yeah, you got the tins that come with special cards, you know, that are promo cards.
They'll come with pins. They'll come with a pack of just energies. They'll come with a rule book. They'll come with a collector book of like the whole set that you can check off. And all that stuff is cool. But as a collector, if you're just wanting to know, you know, the best way or most efficient way to get valuable cards, those Elite Trainer boxes and a lot of these collector boxes aren't going to be the biggest bang for your buck. Now, if you did want to go buy those, ETB or Elite Trainer boxes, especially any of the collector series, they're probably better left unopened. So if you wanted to spend the $20, $25 on a Morpeko V that we've opened on this channel, whatever that was, I still have PTSD about opening that box. It's probably better to just spend the $25, keep it sealed, put it on your shelf as a display item, and then watch the value of it go up from there. Hopefully. Not all boxes will, but if you wanted to buy a collector box, probably don't open it if you're in this collecting world.
Absolutely. So our last tip number 5, is always keep an eye out for packs and singles wherever you go. Different stores will randomly sell Pokemon cards, sometimes for cheaper. Sometimes for cheaper, or they'll have rare cards that they don't really realize is rare. And so they'll just have these cards and packs for sale. You might find, you know, stuff kind of buried beneath maybe an old set of some sort, and still be sold for $4. And so you can kind of keep an eye out as a collector. Oh, where are these stores that have these weird niches for cards and Pokemon, and where can I, you know, kind of capitalize on that? Eric has a great story about that, so I'll kind of stop talking.
This is something I can relate a ton to, but before I get into the story, I know garage sales big place to go, because a lot of times you might be able to buy, even if it's just bulk. We just talked about how you can sell bulk back to Full Grip Games, and have you can use that bulk to get an Elite Trainer box. So even if you're just going to buy 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 bulk for $10, $20 at a garage sale because they just want to get rid of the cards, that's great. You can go to antique shops. They might be selling cards. And so whenever you go into a store, just kind of keep your eye out and always have it in the back of your head for Pokemon cards and stuff like that. But the story, something that happened to me about a year and a half ago, is we were in a record shop here in our local area. And a part of this record shop, they just had a cardboard box filled with sleeved. Luckily, they were sleeved. And at the time, they were GX cards. That was when GX cards were more like the in thing. So this is a couple years ago. And I was filtering through all of them, and they were selling all of them individually from $1.99 to $2.99 a piece.
Yeah, it was really cheap.
And immediately I saw that, and I'm like, okay, there are gonna be cards in here that are probably worth more than that. So I was there for probably 30, 45 minutes going through these cards. And I found, I think I left that day with 5 or 6 cards that were already kind of in harder cases, the stiffer cases. And I spent
what, $5?
No, I spent like 10 or 12, maybe even 15. And then as I was in the store, I was on TCG Player on my phone, kind of just seeing, okay, am I really getting a good deal here? And I left, having spent $10 or $15, and I left with over $100 worth of cards. And that's the ungraded price. And
you had Necrozma, you had Gold Necrozma.
Yep, and I had the Rayquaza. There was like an Articuno one in there, and I don't even fully remember. If I had my binder, I might be able to pick them out. But that was clutch, obviously.
That's awesome.
And so they didn't know. Do I feel bad? Maybe a little bit I feel guilty, but at the same time, you know,
Gotta do what you gotta do.
you gotta do what you gotta do. This is the collector.
They decided to sell them for that price.
Yeah, they were probably happy to get rid of them, to be totally honest
Yeah.
with you, and they still made $1.99 to $2.99 a piece. Yeah, so those are our 5 tips for collecting. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a comment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, tell a friend. We know that YouTube is a big community, especially now with Pokemon and all these nostalgic things coming back. And so we're trying to hop on that and kind of spread our knowledge and our fun in with Pokemon and other TCGs and whatnot. So
come on and have a good time with us.
yeah, cool. We'll see y'all next time.
Have a good one.